Okay. Speaking of tuning into, I have not tuned into any of these yet this year. In fact, this has become a must Twitter event, if you will, and that is the college football ranking show. There was an interesting article on Awful Announcing in this week by Sam Newman. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. And basically, the headline is "Who is the college football ranking show serving?" For a program that's supposed to clarify the college football playoff picture, the college football ranking show often feels like it serves as a content machine more than the fans. And what I want to know, or what I wanted to say, I guess, why I wanted to talk about this is like I've been thinking about this a lot. Like, is the is the college football playoff picture like because we are also invested in doing our own mock-ups and mock brackets and mock whatevers, like has this almost kind of like lost its meaning? Like the AP poll, like I'm very much fine with the AP poll coming at my Twitter timeline at noon on Sunday, and there's Penn State's rank, and great, we're moving on with our Sunday. And I think like this just feels like forced content to kind of what this article a little bit gets at is like it feels like forced content to more so just serve advertisers as another way to get some impressions going and give you some fodder to talk about on a 24-hour sports network.
Yes. Yeah, it's following in the footsteps of the release for college basketball that they've been doing the past couple of years, right? In advance of the tournament, a month and a half out, we're start kind of showing you the brackets and who's in and who's out. And here's none of it means anything except, I guess, if you follow the process, right, and see that someone moved from one week to another, if there's actually a reason why they moved, right? And or if there's logic to why people are certain places. I think what this will serve in the bigger picture is, and the playoff in general as well, will serve the move to 16 teams sooner rather than later.
Yes,
like
I agree with that.
They're going to go to 16. They're going to get more home games on site because they're going to find out the 4 games that are on home sites this year are great and look good on TV and are wonderful. Plus, with 16, you got 4 more teams in, and it's gonna alleviate some of the ties and bitching and moaning that's going to come from the SEC and the Big Ten later this year in a couple weeks.
No, that's wrong. I don't disagree with the expansion aspect. I think that you brought up the point of why I think people struggle with it is it is just people talking over what they predict or project the logic to be, as opposed to what the college football playoff committee's actual logic would be. We've talked about this before. Like, there's a great reality TV show to be made of just having people sit down, like make a 30-minute, 25-minute, 15-minute cut up of we're going to talk through these rankings and why we made this team over that team, and give me 5 or 6 of those in that segment. I think that would be a better service to fans as opposed to what this is. And I think that's the issue. That's what's missing. That's the problem. And I think that's why you're seeing a piece like this, and that's why you're seeing more discussion around like what is the point of this show. The other thing that I don't buy that came up on Saturday on game day, there's how much like ESPN has done so much effort into pushing this is how the playoff works. Every major college football media outlet, even all of the minor ones, have explained it to you 19,000 times at this point. And game day dedicated like 8 minutes to like, here's how the ranking slotting works and why these numbers are different. And I'm like, who's not getting this? Like Desmond Howard was playing it off like he was the one that they were like explaining it to. And I'm like, who's not getting this? Like if you're turning into game day, like you're at least an average college football fan, so you should know that, or you would know that, and you know that that's been the biggest change. I don't understand. I just don't understand why like ESPN's taking on this right to educate all of us in this sense. And I think that this kind of all goes back. It's all interconnected to like, who are we serving here? What exactly are we serving?
Yeah, well, I think that's a good point. I think ESPN is protecting its own in some ways, right, and protecting the committee to say this is what it is, and this is the decisions that have to be made and how hard it is. Okay, if it's so hard, show us what's going on, right? Go back to the transparency piece or the cut ups or whatever else. Because we talked about this before, and it's no big secret. Like getting to 4 wasn't hard. Like the 4-team play, I mean, it was hard. There were decisions to be made, but cutting it at 4 wasn't so bad. It was pretty clear. It was just which conference champion is going to get screwed over. I mean, realistically.
Right.
Now you're going to have multiple teams with 2 losses, right? You got a team with 1 loss playing in state college, ahead of a team with no losses in the same conference who, if you want to look at who they played, you could make an argument that Indiana has a better win against the common opponent, all that stuff. Either tell us that stuff and then it's consistent from you, which it won't be. That'll be the frustrating stuff. Next year the rules will change. The rules themselves won't change, but how they are applied will change. And that's what frustrates people with the basketball tournament. And it's what's going to happen here. And it's why we're going to go to 16.
I feel like what I struggled with earlier on was I early on with the 14 playoff, I didn't quite understand it. By the last 2 to 3 years, I finally understood, okay, this isn't a ranking of teams 1 through 25. This is a ranking of teams most likely to make the college football playoff if the playoff was like tomorrow, right? And I think that's the way it always eventually played out, even last year, even as controversial as it was. But yeah, I think the transparency thing goes the biggest way. We've said that time and time again. I think that would be big.
And 25 is too many. I mean, for them to be ranking.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Make it 20.
Anymore.
It doesn't matter. 12, if you want to give the first two out, that matters if you want to start doing that. I think the college football playoff committee with 4 beforehand was a boondoggle because those people met every week and talked about it and re-ranked teams. This is not brain surgery at 4. This is a little harder this year. I would like to know they are actually doing work. And I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure they meet and talk and whatever. I'm just not 100% sure that you can prove that there's some big discernible, brain power being exerted there. That's all.
I don't disagree with any of that. I don't. Yeah, I was thinking about the top 25 thing. Illinois came to mind because I think Illinois is back ranked in the AP top 25 poll, but I don't know if they will be in the other one. And it's like, what I don't know if it's necessary to rank a team like that because they don't really have a feasible shot at the playoff at this point because they have 3 losses, right? Like even though they are a top 25 team, and so that was, I think that's only like a kind of protect themselves metric so that when they're like, well, this team has a win over this, 5 top 25 teams or whatever like that. But
maybe that's true.
But I don't understand why we don't I don't understand why we don't leverage the AP poll and say, here are the top. I would rather them actually just release the bracket. I think would be better. And they've been kind of weird about that, I feel like, too. It's not the college football playoff releasing the bracket. It is ESPN showing you what the bracket would look like based off of the college football rankings.
Right. There's always that layer. It's the same with basketball. I mean, you get the chair of the committee for basketball on Selection Sunday, and that's really, maybe you get them during the week during the season, during these selection shows. But for all the money that's involved, and if these people are putting in all this work and they can defend their work and talk about how they did it, just share the stuff.
Right.
Just say, hey, here it is. This is what's going on. Otherwise, there's that ESPN layer that as you talked about, it feels like they're protecting and explaining and sharing, and they've got a vested interest in protecting and explaining and sharing. And I don't begrudge them that. I think they do it and do it well and appreciate the sport and love the sport. But it feels like it could be better because the weekly show doesn't serve anything other than to show, here's stuff that changed. Like Georgia, right? Last week out. This week they're going to be back in. And they should be. That shouldn't be surprising, right? With 2 losses, yes, they're not going to make the cut. Now, with what they had, 2 losses now with what they may make the cut. And that shouldn't be like, oh, you're going to go from 8 to 9 or 9 to 7, right? There could be big jumps because of conference championships and whatever else.
No, I agree with that. Okay.